Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pro Trade Room. We're here for the U.S. jobs report. Also, the Canadian jobs report is trading as well. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director of 10 Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. Okay, good morning, everyone. I just want to show you the elements that are involved in today's report. Down at the bottom, you've got the Canadian report. Don't have very much interest in trading Canada. We do have a setup for Canada if someone is interested. The Canadian setup, just so you know. Give me 1 second. So you're going to trade 923, bracket at 10, stop of 20. The entry is 830, and I would use targets of 7 and 27. 7 and 27. Bracket of 10, stop of 20, entry of 830, and I would use targets of 7 and 27. That's how I would consider trading Canada. 6C 923 if you have interest. I'm going to keep my US info or the jobs info off to the side. The key information is the non-farm payrolls. They're looking for 225,000 jobs. Unemployment rate is important. And also the participation rate is generally considered important. The big number is the non-farm payrolls and also the private non-farm matters, but non-farm is the key. 225. The way that all the jobs reports have been trading this month makes me think that they're underestimating. The job market seems to be pretty hot. We don't know, but my gut feeling is it's going to be more jobs created. I want to welcome everybody who's watching us on YouTube. So please hit the like button and hit the notification bell so you know the next time we're going to be streaming. And also don't forget that margins are up. Margins are up. So what does that mean? Margins are up. It means that if you're trading gold or the NQ, you have to have a lot more cash in your account to cover the ability to trade contracts. That's what margin means. So what we have going on today is the ES, $12,000 per contract. And when you put on a trade with any software, not just ours, any software that has orders, a bracket order of some sort, that's double the margin because you have an order above and below. So you would need, close to $25,000 to trade to ES. MES, you're looking at 10% of that, 1,200. NQ, $18,000 per contract. MNQ, you're 1,800, 1,850 to be exact. One of the main things that we look at also, Australian dollar, keep the Australian dollar in mind. If somebody wants to do a test, an experiment today, we have an Australian dollar setup that's not on the DMM. That's very interesting on this trade. If someone feels like trying it, let me know. ASAP. And I'll give you the setup. Australian dollar, 6A 923. Lots of instruments move on this report. YM is $8,800 per contract. ZN, which matters to us, is $2,000 per contract because that's one of our instruments that we trade. $2,310 per contract. And then gold, 91.30. So if you're trading two gold contracts, which is one bracket, That's $18,000. But here's the crazy thing. I don't know that, I mean, being honest about all this, I don't know. So theoretically, if you don't have enough money in your account and you try to trade two golds, the trade will not trigger. You'll get a margin error. I know for a fact that people have still been able to trade without having enough money in their account. So sometimes it seems like sometimes their systems work and sometimes they don't. That's all I can tell you, is that sometimes the systems work and sometimes they don't. All right. Let's take a look at the DMM last month. NFP. Non-farm payrolls is what it stands for. So last month it was also a margin situation. And it's different with AMP. AMP is 25% of the margin. They are not requiring as much margin as NinjaTrader is. No more oil. Okay. We are not recommending the oil trade anymore. It's not working. We have two simple setups. And last month, we traded ZN, and I believe Eric traded gold. So let's see what happened. Let's go all the way up. Let me make sure I have the right video here. So let's see, it was June 2nd, right? Very, very small move because it reversed very quickly. Reversed very quickly. Okay. Gold had a pretty big move. And I remember Eric had a very nice profit on gold. I believe he made 40 ticks. 40 ticks on gold. This was his gold trade. And he was able to grab 40 ticks out of that last month. Bonds were kind of choppy. Let's take a look at the DMM. I assume everybody can hear and see everything okay? Yes? We do have a natural gas room also today, which is way outside the norm. I can never recall trading natural gas on a Friday, ever. But there's always a first for everything. So we do have a 10 o'clock natural gas room. Okay, the DMM. You can see gold's been trading well. Okay, gold's been trading well. Bracket of 25. Targets of 15 and 30. And you can go higher because when gold has a win, it usually goes well more than 30 ticks on the target. Okay. Well, more than 30 ticks. Hang on 1 second. So Roz, can you hear me? Chantal, are you here? Are you here? You are here. How would you rate the Australian dollar on risk? It looked pretty good, don't you think, as an instrument to trade? Roz, we never traded it live, so you never know if liquidity is going to be good. We're just talking about testing. So, it might just be that if you're not going to trade bonds, that you might want to sim it. You might want to sim it. If anybody is interested in our Australian dollar setup, because the Australian dollar, the testing that we did is the last 4 reports all moved really well, really well. And we had a bracket of 10. So Australian dollar is 6A 923, bracket of 10, targets of 15 and 40 with a stop of 20, and our entry was 8 29.59. That was our Australian dollar setup. And that is 6A 923. 6A 923. Okay. Bonds. Our entry is 829.58. Bracket of 7. Whoops, bracket of 7. And we've got targets of 8 and 20, or you can have a range anywhere between 6 and 30 on bonds, anywhere between 6 and 30. And the stop is 12. The stop is 12. Activation 829.58. Stop is 12. Bracket is 7. Account warnings are off if you're trading live, unless you want them on. And I use the label for bonds. I use the label bonds. And I always like to save the template. So we have NFP, ZN, today's date. That's how I'm trading it today. That way I remember next month when I come back. Next month, I remember. I don't have to remember. I can see the way I traded it. Roz, it's 829.59 is the trigger time. And then gold bracket of 25, activate at 829.59. Targets 15 and 30. Your gold targets really can be what I would like to do on gold. I like to go for a slightly smaller first target. I'd go for something like 9. So if it's a lousy trade and it just jerks, fills, reverses, you might be able to save the trade with a tiny profit if it's a bad event. But I would do something like 9 and 45 or something like that. And the stop is 35. It's a big stop on gold. And then bonds, I'm going to check my bracket width by setting the time to 0. 8:29:58, bracket of 7. Targets range between 6 and 30. I don't think we'll get 30 ticks. You might get 15. And in fact, I'm going to do 6 and 15 on my targets of 28. That's my third. Stop of 12. And I'm checking my brackets by setting my time to 0. There we go. So that's a nice bracket size. Then don't forget, you have to go back and put your bracket time back to 8:29:58. And you want to make sure, if you're trading real, that your account is on, software is on the proper account. Okay. And we'll get our clock going. Let's check our time sync. Time sync. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Now's the time to ask. Now's the time to ask. Checking time sync. No question is unacceptable. Any question is acceptable. Do not be afraid to ask questions. What? How dare you ask a question? MGC. MGC. I think that the thing you can do on MGC is you could definitely use a bigger stop because it's much lower risk. So it's 35. You could use a 45 stop, but I think the brackets are pretty big today and the targets are pretty big. If I was trading MGC today, I would use a bigger stop, but I'd probably use the same settings. Other than that, I would increase my stop. Going to the website, time is, Chantal, if you want to chime in on anything I ever say, you're more than welcome to chime in. Okay. And don't forget, I am watching the elements of this report. It is not unusual to get gold movement now. Gold open. Gold moved early today, pre-open. 8:20 is the gold and the bond open. It's the gold and the bond open. It's pretty volatile. It's a pretty good open. So it should come down as you get closer to the report. Oh, I didn't know you can't access your mic when we're streaming. Today's our YouTube stream of the week. I do want to thank everybody who's watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button, folks. That really helps us out. And if you have any questions, don't forget you could join our challenge. I put the link in. Free 5 days of education. All right, so we've got 10 minutes to go. Just for fun. So let me show you something that's interesting. One of the reasons that we didn't trade some of the holiday trades. So the markets were open. A couple of the markets were open on Good Friday, and the jobs report traded on Good Friday. And it had a very weird reaction because Good Friday, there was no one there, but I recorded it. I was looking at the ES. I don't know what made me look at the ES and not gold. Oh, because that's what was open. That's what was open. And it was a whippy crazy move on both ES and NQ. And it was a slight negative offset on the jobs. It was just a wacky response. That's sometimes what happens in a very low volume environment. You can get weird responses in the instruments. That day was Good Friday, and Good Friday, there's there were very few instruments that were even open. Okay. Looking at May, had a bond set up that was watching gold. Is anyone actually